Pasha Paroh, YN7. Thank you for tuning. Got an interesting topic for you today. We're gonna go over, as always. This one's gonna be titled "Unseen Voices: How Online Algorithms Shape Our Reality Offline." And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you've heard me mention this in the last few conversations we've had, and I think mathematically we can no longer blame the algorithm for the current state of information, of potential connections, etc., 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 that comes across our timelines on the plethora of social media platforms. We need to come out. I know a lot of y'all exist out there. I know many people of a certain fascination level with intellectual conversations tend to avoid the online foolery. Even the ones that are just doing it for trend or for show, for popularity contests, to gain some attention. Even they call it like fake book, stuff like that. At the end of the day, we have ourselves to blame. Why TikTok, Facebook, Instagram broadcasts the bullshit globally. I think it's time we've all had enough. I was watching a little clip on the scroll, and it was, I don't know if it was an African nation's leader or political figure. I didn't go that much into detail about it, but I'll tell you what bothered me about the situation. And I think it really was confirmation for some of the opportunities I've been expressing for us as a community. They were definitely in Africa, some part of Africa, and they were speaking about how the Americans, this was their words. They said the Americans come with dollars for humanitarian efforts. And they said China and Russia comes with arms and military training so they can defend themselves. In that conversation, they went on to say how they called us the Americans, which really, for those like me, know that there's a difference between the Americans and the United States citizens, or the United States itself. But when they spoke about what their perspective was, they said the Americans came to them with dollars. And they went on to elaborate the humanitarian efforts they were speaking about. At least the one they brought, it may have been more, but the one they focused on was about imposing the will of same-sex relationships and choosing genders and stuff like that, right? And the point they were making was, in their part of the world, in their region, that's That's not okay. That's not cool. And keep your dollars, because we don't want them if you want to try and use your dollar to manipulate us into you're saying you're spreading democracy with this dollars, but yet every time we want to practice democracy, the majority here says no, we don't want that. Then you want to weaponize your gift of dollars. And they said we're going to rock with China and Russia because they're bringing arms and military training for us instead of homosexuality. And it's a conversation that's been had a lot, and that's not the and that's not going to be the focus of this conversation. But this was the trigger for I guess I would describe it as, like I said, the confirmation. Because when they were describing it, they didn't say the United States. They said the Americans. So you got to understand, you got to accept responsibility for what we allow ourselves to be perceived as. They don't know that you're not one of them, because they kind of got to the end of that conversation and said, are we supposed to think that this nation, talking about them, is a big tourist spot for the Americans, and that all of the Americans that come here are homosexual? And if we don't comply, if we are not compelled to comply, or we're not compelled to accept, then there's going to be some massive impact on us monetarily from tourism, from Americans. Like, they're describing all of us as Americans. They don't necessarily identify to the difference between United States citizens and Americans. Now, I just look at society, man, and it's sad. It's sad because you got people that'll tell you they not playing about their money, right? Meanwhile, the government taking it all from, now I say taking it all from them, I'm not even talking about like what that meant 10 years ago when you might think taxes and stuff. They're actually great potentially freeze bank accounts to say you can't access your money unless we tell you to, even though it's not money, it's currency. But where was all this talk from these people talking about they don't play about they money? You'll fight someone over your reputation because they said something about your mother. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is looking at the reputation of America as being categorized into certain groups of conversation, and you ain't doing shit about that. You ain't saying nothing about that. You're not going to the people that's got them thinking that you are a bunch of homosexuals around the world and telling them to change whatever they're doing that's got the world looking at us like this. No, you're not doing that. They're not doing that. So what we're going to go over today, again, we're going to talk about unseen voices and how the online algorithms shape our reality offline. Whether you offline and you like, oh, I ain't got nothing to do with that Facebook, that internet, that Instagram, Twitter, that LinkedIn, you don't realize that you're surrounded by the effects of it, so it affects you. Political content, if you got any type of conversation political, and don't just think when one says political that they mean government, because there's local politics, there's street politics, there's gender politics, there's acceptance politics, there's all kind of politics. So if you're ready to dive into the world, get your popcorn and dive into some political turmoil, you should be able to do that. Right? What they call conspiracy theories, content promoting is limited. They're labeling stuff misinformation. How's it misinformation? Oh, if it don't align with the information you want to target people with your algorithms to maintain the status quo. We're going to talk about all this. I got a document for you right here today. I'm going to share with you that outlines all this down to the fucking equation. They actually have the little equation with all the little symbols. And if this, yeah, calculus type math problems we great that they got in this report. So put your tinfoil hats on, buckle up for a wild ride. If you think we just went over, if you think the government's using mind control on pigeons so they can practice controlling your thoughts, you should be able to say that. Right? They defining what's hate speech and what's offensive content because people are offended by the truth. That's why they have trolls attacking you, but once you attack the trolls, oh, you're hate speech, you're offensive content. I mean, if you got a adult content, if you got a OnlyFans page and you up there online getting your cake battered, I mean, you might want to pay attention, because why should you not be able to post your sexually explicit videos when groups can go into the community schools and tell them they might want to be another gender? Maybe your OnlyFans page is going to help them understand how opposite genders fit together properly. Alternative health and wellness people, you already know. You can't share your grandma's miracle cure and call it a miracle cure, but Big Pharma can, and their posts get ranked. Why should you get shadow banned? You need to hear this today. Online gaming communities, you need to hear this too. They're gonna get on you, quote unquote, cheating and hacking, when that's all Facebook does. They cheating you out of information you can receive and send to people, hacking your life, what you want to get, what you gonna get. So grab your virtual swords, all right? And let's get to this. We're going to hear a particular word mentioned often in this today. So I wanted to start with not even go to the etymology dictionary for you guys, but let's just start with the basic online definition of it: polarization. Because the first thing many people are going to think of is the poles. Like, oh, opposites. North and South poles, you bipolar, right? So it kind of makes sense to some people. Oh, when they use that, they're talking about, people of opposite, or what's definition number one here? Division of two sharply contrasting groups or sets of opinions or beliefs. That's what comes to mind to a lot of people. However, the second definition, you must also consider the ambiguity in application. The action of restricting the vibrations of a transverse wave, especially light, wholly or partially due or to one direction. So think about all the people out there that's call themselves members of the light. They represent the light. The knowledge is the light. Looking for a certain type of vibe. Well, polarization is the action of restricting the vibrations of a transverse wave, especially light. So let's get into this document here. So what this is called, it's from March of 2021, right? It was received for review. It was released in December of 2021 from one of my favorite places. So link recommendation algorithms and dynamics of polarization. And when I say they got it all right here for you, they got it all right here for you. So the significance. Polarization, remember that word, is rising while political debates. Remember when I say political, I want you to think about everything, not just government. Polarization is rising while political debates are moving to online social platforms. In such settings, algorithms are used to recommend new connections to users. And when they say new connections, don't just think about a friend request. Think about the information you're being given the opportunity to consume as a connection. So in such settings, algorithms are used to recommend new connections to users through so-called link recommendation algorithms. And I know some of you are going to be like, I know about the algorithm. No, you don't. Because if you knew all about the algorithm, every post you have would have 7,000 likes on it. And you would have 5,000 maxed out followers on Facebook, 20 million people following you on Instagram. No, so you don't know everything about the algorithm. You got a small business trying to grow, you need to pay attention. If you want to know what your kids or your sons and daughters are being susceptible to and some behind the scenes programming, you need to pay attention. If you want to know why the population, the gen pop outside, offline, feels a certain way about everything, you need to pay attention. Users are often recommended based on structural similarity, e.g., nodes sharing many neighbors are similar. We showed a establishing links with structurally similar nodes potentiates opinion polarization by stimulating network topologies with well-defined communities. Even in the absence of opinion-based rewiring. Now they're going to be calling this thing that they're talking about rewiring. Now we spent a couple times, the last video, we talked about the cell phones flashing your skull with the infrared technology. The infrared light has the potential to program the wiring internally of your brain, down to the point where it can control the muscles in your body. Less than only embed whatever information the source wishes to embed. And that's how easily you can be programmed. So when you hear this word rewiring used in this article, to me, for entertainment purposes, I'm thinking about your brain circuitry. And I thought you might find it valuable to know that even if you offline, like don't use any of the online stuff that people do, This is how you're affected by it, and we're gonna go over it today. And I'm showing you the science behind it. I don't waste your time with opinions. Like, we're not gonna talk about what the hottest number one song is, because you can pay a certain amount of dollars and have your song show up as number one on the charts to confuse or to rewire or to reprogram people's circuitry in their brain to believe without question that your song is that good. So when networks are composed of nodes that react differently to out-group contacts, either converging or polarizing, connecting structurally dissimilar nodes enhances moderate opinions. Our study sheds light on the impacts of social network algorithms in opinion dynamics and unveils avenues to steer polarization in online social networks. To steer polarization, to steer what? The action of restricting the vibrations of a transverse wave, especially light. See, you thought the algorithm, many people thought the algorithm was just about what it, like, it makes sense just to say, oh, I don't see your post because the algorithm. Like, you've learned to say that and feel like you know what the algorithm is, but you don't understand the psychological ramifications of what's going on, or the control mechanism for society based on that statement, because you think you know what that means. You just think because I got 5,000 people and Facebook only shows it to 20% or to 2%, which means 20 people see it or whatever, just throwing numbers out of hat. You think that that's what that means, that oh, I got so many people, they can't show my post to everybody that's on my friends. Why can't they? It's a computer. Why wouldn't it pop up? It used, like, Instagram used to pop up on everybody every time you post. That's how come people went viral in the beginning of Instagram before they regulated it so easily. So what's the value? What's the benefit of them saying, hey, your post can't be shown to this person? We're going to cover all that. So if you got any questions about the algorithm, get your popcorn, like I said. All right. So the level of antagonism between political groups has risen in the past years. Supporters, and remember, I want you to apply that to everything and anything, any conversation, not just government stuff. You know what I mean? All the stuff you sit there and talk about your neighbor behind their back, if that's what you do, political. All the stuff that makes you feel like you're arguing about who your top 5 artist is when they only showed you 50 in the whole world, so you only know about 25 of them, and there's 400 in your city that you don't know about. Political. Okay? So the level, Nike versus Reebok, political. The level of antagonism between political groups has risen in the past years. Supporters of a given party increasingly dislike members of the opposing group. And this is a very important statement here. Supporters of a given party increasingly dislike members of the opposing group. You know, you got to ask yourself, one, what would make it increase? I mean, once you reach a certain level of dislike, how much more dislike can you acquire? What's driving the increasing dislike? Okay. Remember the infrared flashes. So, but the point is, you thought social distancing was whatever you thought it was. You didn't realize the agenda is still potentially for entertainment purposes moving full speed at the opposing group and avoid intergroup interactions. This is why the fake people don't like real people more and more, and they're getting more and more tired of it. This is why Lakers people don't like Boston people, the Celtics people, because they both don't know that the whole NBA and NFL is fake, rigged. By definition, you can go look it up, and it's entertainment. So they absolutely can write a script, and that's why they write scripts to the games, and the whole thing is scripted. You go to work, they go to work mad all week because their team lost, not realizing they watching a play. Then they spend 4 hours watching the game, 2 hours shopping for the game, an hour traveling. They spent 7 hours on a game, but they'll tell you they don't have time to learn shit about how to make the community better. Because they don't got enough time. They're too busy watching the play. While new connections offline are driven largely by human decisions. Now, I want you to pay attention to that. Oh, I skipped the part. Okay. Supporters of a given party increasingly dislike members of the opposing group and avoid intergroup interactions, leading to homophilic social networks. While new connections offline are driven largely by human decisions. New connections on online social platforms are intermediated by link recommendation algorithms. People such as people you may know or whom to follow suggestions. And I always look at that as people you may know as like, you know, some people look at that and say, oh, they're thinking I might know them. See, because you're not trained in the eye of ambiguity, multiple meanings. So people you may know is also like them giving you approval to know that person or to have that connection. Yes, you may know this person. Like when you were a little son or daughter, you might have said, may I go outside? And your mother or father or guardian or school teacher or whatever might say, yes, you may. So people you may know is basically someone giving you approval for that connection. But if we go back a little bit in the same statement, like, because if we spent as much time comprehending, it's not that we can't read as a society. It's that we weren't taught to comprehend what we're reading. So by the time you get to the percentage of people who are okay and comfortable enough to exercise the luxury of reading or study and research, what percentage of them actually comprehends? Like I said earlier, many of us got to the point where we said, oh, the algorithm is they don't show everybody my post, and they feel like they comprehend that. We're going to blow that out the water today for those who don't know. But when we look at this statement here, it says, while connections offline are driven largely by human decisions. This is going to introduce you to the real danger here. New connections online social platforms are intermediated by link recommendation algorithms. So what happens is, what you may have missed, or what the opportunity is here in between the lines, is that the people online, if they're not conscious of it, aware of it, they're being programmed. I'm going to show you the data. They got graphs and everything here telling you exactly how they do this, how they formulate your thoughts for you and have you thinking that they're your own thoughts based on who they allow you to see when, what, where, and why. It's all right here. Get your popcorn. So what happens is the ignorant online, and I mean, when I say ignorant, I'm not saying it as an insult. I mean what it means by definition, just the lack of knowledge, the unaware, those unaware of this attack against them online, which is maybe the majority of people, are being steered to have certain opinions. And then guess what they do? They go to work and sit right next to you in a cubicle. Or they go to work and sit right next to you on the assembly line. If you go to church, they go to church with you. And the program that they're given is now sitting next to you, ready to attack, steer, alter, control, guide, polarize you into conformity. Or you become some sort of viewed radical left-wing extremist. Let's continue. The long-term impacts of link recommendation and polarization are unclear, particularly as exposed to opposing viewpoints has a dual effect. Connections with out-group members can lead to opinion convergence and prevent group polarization, or further separate opinions. Here we provide a complex adaptive system perspective on the effects of link recommendation algorithms. While several models justify polarization through rewiring based on opinion similarity, here we explain it through rewiring grounded in structural similarity, defined as similarity based on network properties. We observed that preferentially establishing links with structurally similar nodes, i.e. sharing many neighbors, result in network topologies that are amenable to opinion polarization. Hence, polarization occurs not because of a desire to shield oneself from disagreeable attitudes, but instead due to the creation of inadvertent echo chambers. When networks are composed of nodes that react differently to out-group contacts, either converging or polarizing, we find that connecting structurally dissimilar nodes moderates opinions. Overall, our study sheds light on the impacts of social network algorithms and unveil avenues to steer dynamics of radicalization and polarization in online social networks. So they're telling you they can control by who they put you around and what they allow you to connect to information-wise. They are basically steering your thoughts into a convergence or a divergent situation. Now, what does that mean in kindergarten language? Basically, we have the mechanics to make you view people a certain way, which makes you in turn want to be a certain way. They've been doing this a long time. Even before online was big. Like, I remember doing some conversations. I had posts several times when I said, what's the dude name? Kaepernick was at that time the new Magic Johnson. Because, like we said earlier, the sports people are just athletes who are actors in a big play. So you go get the actor, whatever they do off the court deal, behind closed curtains deal, And then you move them from acting on the sports court or arena to acting on a different stage, which is how you get a Magic Johnson becoming the spokesperson for entertainment purposes for HIV moments prior to HIV becoming weaponized in our communities. Which is how you get Kaepernick, as I pointed out in advance, becoming a spokesperson for supposedly black people taking a stand against the flag and whatever that stood for, right before the Black Lives Matter surge to power, protest nationwide, only to find out what you found out about that group after the fact. What's going on right now with Ja Morant has me thinking we are only days, moments for entertainment purposes prior to some sort of attack on our Second Amendment. Let's continue. Online social networks are increasingly used to access political information, engage with political elites, and discuss politics. And remember, like I said, just substitute the variable to be anything that you bring up for discussion. We done talked about the social credit score. We done talked about how it's already here. We talked about how it's been here. We talked about how it's coming in a digitized form, connected with FedNow, with the currency that they're going to take from you, with all these people talking about they don't fucking play with their money, but yet they going to get played by their money. Because they spend 8 hours a week watching a play, thinking it's a game, being emotionally charged. Because they don't understand how that energy manipulates them into whether they work good next week or not. These new communication platforms can benefit democratic processes in several ways. They reduce barriers to information and subsequently increase citizen engagement, allow individuals to voice their concerns, help debunk false information. Listen to all this. And improve accountability and transparency in political decision making. In principle, individuals can use social media to access ideologically diverse viewpoints and make better informed decisions, except for the only part they forgot to tell you is that someone controls what you can select from as the infinity. The illusion of free choice. It kind of works on it a little bit here, but not directly as I just put it. So at the same time, internet and online social networks reveal a dark side. There are mounting concerns over possible linkages between social media and effective polarization. Other than healthy political deliberation, social networks can foster so-called echo chambers and information cocoons where individuals are only exposed to like-minded peers and homogeneous sources of information, which polarizes attitudes. For counter evidence, see reference 5. All right, so they got reference 5 up there. But basically, if you only fool with 100 people, and all 100 people say the same thing, you're gonna think that you're right when all 100 of those people could be absolutely wrong, and the only ones that think that way, but you would never know it. And this is how they attack people in society. They get on the news and they say, "Oh, Kanye's a crazy person, and he's this and he's that," and they do their little conversations online, and people get programmed. They go online, they start talking about Kanye, and then Adidas comes up and says we're gonna separate from Kanye, and then the people that's been fans of Kanye start burning Yeezys and do all this stuff. Why? And then most people that don't have a clue how to use their own brain are sitting there saying, yeah, we need to boycott Yeezy and boycott Ye, and the next thing you know, you don't really know why you don't like them. And then what they do is this magic statement. They'll say, well, everybody's saying the same thing about them. No, everybody is saying the same thing about them. And what's the reason? What's the art of war benefit? What's the 48 laws of power? Take me to your leader. So as a result, social media can trigger political sectarianism and fuel misinformation, averting the risk of online social networks for political institutions, and potentiating their advantages requires multidisciplinary approaches and novel methods to understanding long-term dynamics of social platforms. This is why we need to come together and start making sure. People used to tell me stuff like, oh, I don't see it. I was like, oh, I don't see your post either. I go to your page on purpose because I said you were my peoples, and I go to your page to support you because I know the algorithm. I'm investing in your success. So everybody that there wasn't a mutual investment for, whether they were genuinely interested in the content or they were just genuinely interested in my success or not, that's how I look at it. I'm either genuinely interested in your content or I'm genuinely interested in your success. So I make the effort to go to your social medias and engage with your shit to stimulate the algorithm to reconfigure it to include that bullshit ass person that won't do the same shit for you. Now, what happens is we're going to get to hear about the population factor. And this is why when people ask me, Pasha, why do you get rid of people, thousands of people over and over again on Facebook? It's because when you're panning for gold, you bring in a lot of matrix and you sift through it to find little nuggets. I don't know how better to tell you. It's not personal. You guys talk about business until you start, but you do business with anybody and everybody because you're desperate. I'm cool to wait for the right. And when I'm gone, all this will be here until they scrub it. So get your gold nuggets and stop feeling like you got a lot because you have a bunch of weight with you. But if most of your weight is just the dirt in the matrix, you're being controlled by what's around you, especially based on this algorithm. Remember, it's talking about the nodes you're connected with, the neighbors you have as far as online, and basically works the same way in real life. All right, so this is not an easy task, as pointed out by Woolley and Howard. To understand contemporary political communication, we must now investigate the politics of algorithms and automation. While traditional media outlets are curated by humans, online social media resources to computer algorithms to personalize content through automatic filtering. To understand information dynamics in online social networks, one needs to take into account the interrelated subtleties of human decision making, such as only share specific contents, actively engage with other users, follow or befriend particular individuals and interact offline. And the outcomes of automated decisions, news, sorting, and recommendation systems. In this regard, much attention has been placed on the role of news filters and sorting. I don't even know if that's a typo or not. Oh, that's a name. Shamargad and Clar provided evidence that algorithms sorting news impact the way users engage with, engage with and evaluate political news, likely exacerbating political polarization. Likewise, Levy notes that social media algorithms can substantially affect users' news consumption habits. That's basically a long way of saying they're programming what you think you like, and you don't realize why you think you like what you think you like. In many cases, if you don't have a strong enough mind to understand this is what's happening to you. While past studies have examined how algorithms may affect which information appears on a person's news feed and subsequent polarization, social matching or link recommendation algorithms, also called user contact or people recommender systems, constitute another class of algorithms that can affect the way users engage in and with online social networks. So if they're affecting the way you engage with or in online social networks, then they're affecting the social network you have offline, because the programming, like I said, is going to go to your job, it's going to go to your church, it's going to go to your kid's little league team. So don't think that you're better because you're offline. You're just blind to the fact of where it's coming from. These algorithms are implemented to recommend new online connections, friends, and followees to social network users based on supposed offline familiarity, likelihood of establishing a future relation, similar interests, or the potential to serve a source of useful information. So if you like Tatiana's page because she's posting pictures with, I don't know if Tatiana's a real person, but I mean, if you like Thought 507 chick on Facebook because she's posting pictures with a thong, but outside of that, all she talks about is retarded shit, then you're going to be deemed to be retarded too. And it's going to give you retarded shit in your feed that's going to reinforce your retardation. And in order to fit in with the group that you've picked, you've got to enjoy the content and engage with it. Or it starts to, from your perception, leave you out of the group. And then you wonder why you're not, your posts aren't being liked and shared and all this stuff. So you have to then go back to being retarded in what you post, because then your engagement and numbers will go up. And then the other countries are looking at us posting retarded shit and wondering what's wrong with the Americans. So when you hear me say, yeah, I gotta reduce and start to add, look for more people that are in right. If I go to the 1,000 people and I find 3, I mean, that's probably equivalent to real life. You go to 5 parties a month, You probably walk past 2,000-3,000 people. You meet 4 or 5 chicks that month. That's probably about the same percentage. Three of those 5 chicks, you're gonna find out something, you don't really mix with. 2 of them you're gonna put on your list. That's about the same percentage. The only difference is I'm just not looking for chicks to bang on the weekend. I'm looking for people that want to change the fucking world. So I might gotta go through 5 or 10,000 people to get those same 2. So these algorithms implement, where are we at here? Current data provide evidence that link recommendation algorithms impact network topologies and increase network clustering. Something show that an algorithm recommending friends of friends in the IBM internal social network platform increases clustering and network modularity. Su et al. Analyzed the Twitter graph before and after this platform implemented link recommendation algorithms and show that the who to follow feature led to a sudden increase in edge growth and the network clustering coefficient. Similarly, Zignani et al. Show that on a small sample of the Facebook graph, the introduction of people you may know feature led to a sudden increase in numbers of links and triangles, like motifs comprising 3 nodes, A, B, and C, where links A, B, AC, and BC exist also. In the network, the fact that people you may know is responsible for a significant fraction of link creations is alluded to in other works. Furthermore, recent work shows through experiments with real social media users and simulations that link recommendation algorithms can effectively be used as an intervention mechanism to increase networks' structural diversity and minimize disagreements. So if you, like I said, if you got 100 people who are believing a lie, they're not going to introduce you to the 7.8 billion that could tell you the truth, because they want to minimize the disagreement factor of your 100 group living in bliss. So it is thereby relevant to understand, one, how the algorithmic link recommendations interplay with opinion formation, and what the long-term impacts of such algorithms on opinion polarization. So it says here we tackle the previous questions from a complex adaptive systems perspective, designing and analyzing a simple model where individuals interact in a dynamic social network, just like outside. While several models explain the emergence of polarization through link formation based on opinion similarity and information exchange, here we focus instead on rewiring based on structural similarity, which is defined as similarity based on common features that exclusively depend on network structure. This contrasts with the broader concept of homophily, which typically refers to similarity based on common characteristics besides network properties, opinions, taste, age, background, compared with rewiring based on homophily, which can also contribute to network fragmentation. See, remember when the quote-unquote gangs were thought to be like these really good organizations that were they had their things that they were doing, but they were really organized for the community. And the CIA had to go in and break all that shit up. Remember when the Moorish temple was all following the lead of Noble Drew Ali, and shortly after he passed away, the CIA infiltrated all but a small percentage of them and took control over their teachings, and they had to fragment them off of the original, right? Oh, here go that word again, fragmentation, network fragmentation. So rewiring based on structural similarity can be less restrictive in context, where information about opinions and beliefs is not readily available to individuals. The connection is established. Furthermore, look, here's it right here. Rewiring based on structural similarity can be less restrictive in context, where information about opinions and beliefs is not readily available to individuals before the connection is established. Furthermore, rewiring based on structural similarity is a backbone of link recommendation algorithms. People you may know or whom to follow, which rely on link prediction methods to suggest connections to users. Importantly, our model combines three key ingredients. Links are formed according to structural similarity based on common neighbors, which is one of the simplest link prediction methods. This way, we do not assume a priori that individuals with similar opinions are likely to become connected, as recent works underline sorting can be incidental to politics. Then, to examine opinion updating, we adapt a recent model that covers the interplay of social reinforcement and issue controversy to promote radicalization on social networks. Last, we explicitly consider that nodes can react differently to outgroup links, either converging in their opinions or polarizing further. So it says, we find that establishing links based on structural similarity alone, a process, you know what, here, let me skip some of this for you because I want to get you to some of this good stuff. You get the gist of it. And when I say the gist, I mean, I'm showing you, because I want to skip that paragraph and get down to, here's some of the math. Like, when I said they got it, you know, this is look at these equations they got here. As fully described in materials and methods, we simulate a network population of N, right? You see it in the equation below. N individuals that adapt their opinions through social influence. Each individual, little lowercase I in the equation, is characterized by an opinion where xi, that equation, close parentheses, plus or minus infinity. The sign of XY represents individuals' stance towards a certain topic, such as pro or against gun control. The process of opinion updating. Look, the process of opinion updating, like fuck what you think you thought you know. We get ready to change your mind. We get ready to update your opinion. And remember, it don't matter if you online or not. The people being programmed online, whether it's through the infrared flashes through their skull or just basic social media exploration, are coming in contact with you in daily life in the rest of the world. And they're going to try to steer and that your opinion, because that's what they're programmed to do. And this is going to be the problem when it reaches a greater scale against those who know that they're American and the rights and birthrights that come with that, and those who believe they're United States citizens trying to impose normative social influences because all they have is beliefs and privileges, because they claim a jurisdiction that they don't understand because they never questioned that and they never looked into that either. And that's going to be an interesting point in the future. But here we go. So the process of opinion updating that we consider is inspired by recent models developed to capture dynamics of polarization on social media platforms and by earlier models of collective decision making and opinion formation. And like I said, it's interesting. They gave a topic of like such as pro or against gun control. And like I said, the Ja Morant activity and publication of it, I think that's kind of the segue with everything else, that there's going to be some sort of attempt to update opinions on whether you should be able to defend yourself, because you don't realize that it's not your neighbor around the corner that you need to shoot at as much as it is an invading force potentially taking all of your freedoms away, all of your rights away, all of your resources away, because you're blind to that. Not you, this is why that's 7, but the people around us are blind to that and programmed to call you crazy if you see it. So now they're working on the sports junkies, using Ja Morant as the puppet to keep having a conversation about, oh, now he should be kicked out of the league because he has guns around him and he does this with. Did he shoot somebody? No. The cops shoot people, and nobody tells them at the end of the day that they shouldn't be having guns. They killing people because they ran a red light, or they got a warrant because of unpaid child support, and they get shot dead because of a traffic stop, but ain't nobody trying to take the cops' guns away. So it says here, we consider that the opinion of individual I at time t plus 1 is updated the following: x little I, this t in the parentheses, t plus 1 close parentheses equals, if you want to call that y, xi parentheses t close parentheses plus k, some calculus symbol, n and j, a to the ig, j, excuse me, tangent something, open parentheses, ax little j, open parentheses, t. See what I'm saying? Close parentheses, all divided by ki. Like, this is this is what you are if you don't know any better. This is why you hear Pasha say, I'm a man of equations and not variables. Because exactly how this is what you are to them, this is what the world is. It's a fucking equation. This is why everything you stress over and want to, all this shit you talk about, it's a fucking equation. This is why emotions are variables in the equation. This is why you hear me say I'm non-emotional. And in order to be true, you have to consider the whole infinity. Because if you don't know the whole graph of this equation, you don't realize you're just a dot in your current position on a line that's infinite. So this reflects the assumption that in an absence of social reinforcement, opinions magnitudes decay with the factor of 0, less than let's call that y less than 1. This means that we do not include intrinsic preferences for a specific opinion, a condition that can be altered in future iterations of the model. By assuming that certain individuals have a baseline tendency to adopt more extreme opinions over time, let's call that y greater than 1, or are strongly opinionated by default. See, people like me and you and all the other Y-7 supporters, we're on this list. Strongly opinionated by default. They don't want to connect us with other people as much as they want to connect, the other types of people, because when you put us in the middle of those people where the other people become like those people, you seen that that example, that little study they did where they have like the people come into the room, right? And it's only one person that's really real, like the rest of the people around them are actors, like. And what they do is they have this line graph where they got like, not line graph, but they got like this line over here, and then they got like 3 lines on the right side, and they want you to tell them which line, A, B, or C, looks the same as the other line, like in length. And all the other actor people purposely were there to give the wrong answers to see how long it would take for the real person to start to change their answers to go along with the rest of the group, even though they know that they were wrong, just so they could fit in. You've seen that study, right? Okay. So what happens is if you put us in those groups, we don't go along to fit in because it don't make sense. So we are an anomaly. We are an anomaly. Whatever, you know what the fuck I'm trying to say. I'll be having difficulty. I still got the little Bell's palsy. I can't say everything all the time like I used to. We still an anomaly. Yeah, whatever. So we don't go along to fit in. We are informatively socially influenced, not normatively socially influenced. So we're going to fuck up their little math problem here. And we're going to, while they're trying to steer it this way, our strong opinion is going to be the little voice on the GPS that comes in and goes rerouting. And we're just going to fuck it all up. So they try to keep us way outside on the edge where people don't get to see us. And then they mix a bunch of other stuff in to make the people that they're targeting feel and know that something's wrong with us and to avoid us. Right? Just so you know. So, because I know it affects, if you don't notice, it affects you emotionally. And you gotta wear that with a badge of honor. Instead of feeling like, why I don't have whatever. People come to me, they talk about their interactions, engagements and stuff on social media. And when you look at them, if they're telling the truth, if they're talking about real shit, it's gonna be low. If you got the wrong people around you, and it's gonna be even still low if you got the right people around you, because they don't want to recommend the connection, let them know it exists. Remember, they gotta keep the information from them, which is why you gotta go to your people's pages and actually actively support them, because they don't want the people speaking the truth to have 5,000 likes on a post, because then it's gonna get the attention of people that don't know the truth, that they're trying to keep the truth from, because they're going to be like, oh, this got 5,000. What are they talking about? I want to be part of 5,000, right? Because that's all they know. And by default, this programming goes out into society. So what happens? People are afraid to have real conversations in public because they want to be accepted. So what do? They talk about the fake shit like sports, the weather, all the bullshit. And they wonder why you don't fuck with them. So it gives some more detail about the equation here and the breakdown of how they're actually using calculus to make these predictions. Okay, here's a good spot. It says individuals are influenced by their neighbors according to the adjacency matrix. See, so they got all this. They're not, what you basically, the long story short is, they're not studying this and presenting it in the case of like, this is why your posts don't go to everybody on the group. They're studying it to this level because they're able to help control your mind, your thoughts, your perceptions based on knowing this information. They watch your activity, they see your characteristics, and they're playing chess with your ass. And they're saying, okay, recommend these 5 fools to them to become friends with, because they want to bring you down. The dumbing down process. This is it right here. If we're talking on a scale from 0 to 100, 100 being, the top intelligence or analytical or thought process or strong opinionated, you're not going to feed me no bullshit, whatever, right? They're going to want to give you some 35s because they're hoping that you want to fit in with the people around you. And in order to do that, you're going to have to come down from 98 to like 47 when you're around them. And the longer they can keep you acting in a 47 when you're used to being a 98, the more you'll start to just stay a 47. At the same time, once you go into the world of 47, all the little advertisements and stuff around there tell you that 98 is a terrible place to be. You don't want to be a 98. Don't do 98 shit. Come to 47 world. And that's how they're conquering the world without firing a single shot right now. Because they control your thoughts. So here's charts and graphs of this shit. Like, this right here show you how they got it figured out that pretty much we know how to take you from wherever you're at and bring you right here in line with the rest of the group. And this is called radicalization over here, graph B, where they can take you and say, okay, we don't want you on this line. We want to move you over here. And they know how to do that based on simply what they show you on your Facebook profile page or your Instagram feed. Or we want you anywhere but on the center line. So we know how to get you either left or right, one way or the other. But one way or another, you're going to not go down the center line here. This is them showing you that they have the process to do this. Neutral consensus, radicalization, polarization, connected components. All right, so let's get ready to wrap this up here. Political opinions in discussion. Political opinions, remember, substitute the word political for everything, every topic, any topic that they want to control, manipulate, tell you what you should or shouldn't think. Political opinions are increasingly shaped by interactions in online social networks. Importantly, to understand opinion dynamics in such settings, we must consider the combined effect of human social influence and algorithmic decisions. Link recommendation algorithms can possibly bias the creation of new ties towards individuals that have a high number of common acquaintances, which constitute perhaps the simplest form of link prediction. Here, we show you that social media algorithms that recommend that users establish a link based on structural similarity potentiate opinion polarization. We observe that this effect is exacerbated if issues are such that even moderate opinions are likely to have high social influence. The consequences of adding new ties in a social network depend on how individuals react to outgroup others. This said, we explicitly combine polarizing and converging nodes that respectively diverge or converge in opinions when exposed to different viewpoints. We show that the coexistence of both type of nodes contributes to moderate opinions. By stimulating the existence of isolated communities, rewiring based on structural similarity may prevent converging nodes from accessing diverse viewpoints, which in general contributes to increased level of extreme views. And I want to stop there because that's really a powerful statement. I read through this prior to. If you want to read more up on it, just search the link on the PNAS website. I've showed you this before. We've done a few videos off of this site. But I'll read that again. By stimulating the existence of isolated communities, rewiring based on structural similarity may prevent converging nodes from accessing diverse viewpoints, which in general contributes to increased levels of extreme views. So what they're going to do is decide who they want to isolate, prevent the rest of the groups from reaching them, create a rewiring in those people's brains that now makes that isolated community appear to be an extreme view. And these are the people that you work with, go to school with, or in the mall with. The zombies are already around you. You're waiting for them to start eating your brains. They're already doing it. Pasha Paroh, YNet7. Thank you for tuning.